So this was another fanfiction idea that was voted on over on Patreon. As always, if you'd like to be part of those posts, and as well as check out the episode reviews for Star Wars The Acolyte and Suicide Squad Isekai, just hit the link below, head on over to Patreon, hit the first tier, that'll allow you access to do so. So yeah, this one got voted on, and it actually won in a close one. It legit was a legit, and I have no other way to say it, was like back and forth with like a few of them, and I thought I had the winner. Like, I legit thought for a second that I had the winner for a second. Then I looked back and I was like, nope, the other one suddenly won by a good by like one more vote. Whereas the other one I did, Frankenstein, Black Butler, and Gotham by Gaslight, just absolutely annihilated everyone else. This was more back and forth between two of them, and this one won by one vote. And this one is Bioshock versus Terminator. So yeah, Bioshock versus Terminator, a crossover you thought you would never see. So let's get so as always, I'd like to thank everyone for voting on this in this Patreon poll. God, I'm tongue-tied. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So the story is not actually a time travel story. We are not doing any time travel in this story. However, basically what it is we are set during the war with the machines. We are at least a good 5 years into the war with the machines. And essentially what it is that John Connor and the Resistance have kind of learned through some mapping through what little submarines are left in the world's control. A submarine has picked up a large object, which they thought it was like they thought it belonged to like Skynet, like it was some underwater base that Skynet had constructed. But then they got more mapping, and they're like, no, this is something legit different. Like, this is something that has a lot. It's older. Like, it's way before the time of the machines, and that is they've managed to map out Rapture. Now, Rapture at this point, they basically were there's a lot of talk of like, what the hell's Rapture? And they were like, well, there was a lot of like united governments who had heard about a guy, some guy named Andrew Ryan, who got tired of like the world's governments at the time, and basically with other like-minded people created a city underwater called Rapture, and no one knows where it went. It was like a modern-day Atlantis, in a way. Like, some people thought he was just a crazy cult leader. Others took him legit, but no one knew where to find him. And it was never found, so we could never discover shit. So no one knew shit, but I guess it's real. But there was a lot of talk of, like, in Rapture, the people of that city were allowed to build and create things that, you know, modern science couldn't understand, couldn't comprehend at the time. Some of them being super weapons. And that's when John gets the idea of, like, you say weapons? Like, stuff that, it would be analog now, but, like, a lot of it, anything that we can find down there could give us an edge against the machines. Like, that's... If this is real, and if Rapture is still, if Rapture is said what it is, like what you guys have mentioned, we should at least go down there and see if we can salvage anything at the bare minimum for resources for the Resistance. I'm not talking like bullets, but if there's like anything that can help us like repair vehicles or anything that can help us in the war with the machines, we need to go down there and find out what's down. Like, we need to just find anything. Anything in the war against the machines is good for us, so that's what we need to do. So John and the others, and a squad of some of his best men, go take us to this submarine and head down to where Rapture is. Unfortunately, by that time, Skynet kind of was also in the midst of scouting and also discovered the structure as well. And they're like, you know, I don't know what... Skynet is just basically like, I don't know what the fuck that is, but if John Connor is going down there with only a few people, that's the perfect time to kill him. Like, that's, if he's just going down there, with only a handful of people protecting him, that's the perfect opportunity to kill him. So Skynet deploys a squad of T-800s to head down into Rapture as well. So now we've set the stage. Rapture's at the focal point. John and his crew are going down there, and Terminators are going down there as well. Now, we are going to disregard the events of Bioshock 1 and 2, of those endings, and kind of just make it like, well, it ended, but not the way you would think. So it is kind of an alternate ending. Anyway, so as John and his squad go down there, it's been decades. You have to understand, the city of Rapture, at this point, is still standing, but it's like rotting and decaying underwater. There's leaks everywhere. It could fall apart any time. And God knows what happened to to the citizens of this town. They already see, like, when they go into Rapture, they're like looking around, like John and his crew are like, looking around, and they're like, you don't think anything lived down here, do you? Like, is still alive down here, do you? Like, we saw the state of disrepair, and John's like, if anything, if my mother has taught me anything, it was that always be prepared for the unexpected. And I feel like this qualifies. So the team is like going around, looking around, and that's when they like, and that's like when they see their first like splicers. They encounter the splicers, and they're like, they think they're human, but then when they see them, they're like, oh, that's not human. Oh fuck, it's coming at us. So they have to open fire on them, and they're like, what did they do down here? And the constant need for Evo and Adam for the splicers has kind of mutated them even more. Whereas before, they could, like, talk and, like, they were just incredibly insane, but they were still, like, human-like. Here, they've de-evolved, like, over the centuries, they've de-evolved to the point where they basically now are so animal. They're not, like, looking animal-like, but they are, like, mutated and more, like, brutal. They can't talk. They're more savage. So they're just straight-up monsters now. And a lot of them look almost like something out of The Thing, essentially. So now, like, John and his crew have to, like, fight, they realize, shit, this was, like, we can't find anything, this mission is fucked, we need to go. But about that time, that's when the T-800 squad shows up, underwater, blowing up their submersible and making their way in. So it's now humans, Terminators, and Splicers going around. And the Terminators encounter the Splicers. If you could animate this, there'd be a cool Splicer-Terminator fight going on. But, yeah, John and his crew, they get out of there, letting the Splicers and the Terminators fight. But as they do see that, like, there is a little, like, one of the little sisters, who've now kind of grown. They've all, like, the little sisters that were left behind have now grown up and are now, like, they're now gone from little sisters to what is called grandmothers. And grandmothers here are what they are basically, like, they tend to the Splicers that haven't, like, lost their minds totally, who haven't gone rabid. So they're trying to, like, build a society in the rotting remains of Rapture. Try saying that 3 times fast. And the big daddies they have are immortal, so they're, like, still around. In fact, like, yeah, there would be a scene where you have a Terminator fight a Big Daddy. You would have to have a Terminator Big Daddy fight in here. So when they John and his crew encounter one of the grandmothers, they, like, tell them the story of, like, the fall, Frank Fontaine, and, like, the whole thing with the fall of Andrew Ryan and everything else. They even would make a Bioshock Infinite reference where it's like, there was another city up in the sky, but no one knows where that is now. And they're like, you don't belong here. And John even, like, says, like, maybe we can save what's left of you, and maybe we can take that that Evo you have, and help us in the war with the machines. And they're like, the only thing that's going to do is destroy you further. And John's like, you're right, yeah. Adam is not going to be any help to us. It's only going to make our extinction faster against the machines. So by this point, when Skynet doesn't hear from the Terminators, because one by one they're either getting destroyed by they're fighting big daddies, or they're getting killed by Splicers or John's group. Skynet decides to hit the fuck it button, in that it's going to drop a nuke in that city. And yeah, so now the timetable's up, and the grandmother leads them to one of the last escape pods left in in Rapture. In fact, they kind of salvaged it and was like, we were thinking about going to the surface, but was like, no, we belong to the sea now. You know, we don't belong up there anymore than we did before. So John and his crew get out of there just as Skynet nukes Rapture and vaporizes it off the map. They get back up there, and they're just like, holy shit, that was a lot. But, you know, man, and it also makes John go think like, man, like, by the end of it, like, we have to, like, be better than Ryan or who came before us. Because, you know, we always find a way to destroy ourselves one way or another. Whether it be through through Evo or through Skynet, we have to be vigilant from here on out. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much Bioshock versus Terminator. I want to thank everyone for voting on this one. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, you guys tell me in the comments below what you guys think of it. Comment below, let me know. Other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.